Disafterdark is a member of the Mice Chat Podcast Network. MicePod.com. Now, the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.
Warning, this show contains childish adult content and is intended for immature, mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views spoken are ours and ours alone, not those of any other bugger. If you're easily offended, we strongly suggest finding another podcast. Everybody neat and pretty, then on with the show.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Let's put on the show.
Growing older is mandatory. Growing up is optional. Disafterdark, the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.
I always start with calm down. But make as much noise as you want. Welcome back to Series 2, Episode 23 of Disafterdark, the award-winning Disney podcast.
Woo!
That's the same as Neil. I'm Paul.
I'm Nick.
And Paul's running late. He'll be here soon. But joining us in the Mouse's Head today is... Well, do you want to introduce yourself, whether you want to use your secret code name or... your
secret code name? It sounds so mysterious.
Well, why not? You've got to do that.
I'm known on my podcast as Dr Squeee.
Excellent. That's Squee for anyone interested. Yes, gentlemen. Well, we always tend to start this thing with what are you drinking? So, as we are in a bar, in the Mouse's Head, gentlemen, what are you drinking?
Well, I'll kick off because I'm really parched and I need to get this open. I have gone for a beer that has nothing to do with Disney. It is an American beer and recommended by my good friend Stone Cold Steve Austin. And this is, I've said this before, but this is the actual one. I had a different one before. It is a Sierra Nevada even, Torpedo Extra IPA. So I'm going to crack this open. Oh, 7.2% as well. Hello.
Nice choice.
Hang on. Oh, there we go.
Do I hear a Mr. D in the background as well?
Yes, you do.
Excellent. Welcome aboard. Just in time.
Yeah, I had trouble getting through the crowd at the bar. Jeez, it's busy tonight.
Sounds it. Mr. D, what are you drinking?
Okay, so hang on. I really need this first one. We've got a bottle of Kopparberg Elderflower and Lime Cider. I've got no idea what the Disney connection is. It's green. Kermit the Frog's green. There you go. Cheers.
Well, I've gone for the fact that, well, we've got a bit of a Doctor Who theme going on, and he's British and English, so I thought I would go with something that was evocative of merry old England and England history. So I've gone for a Thatchers cider.
Nice.
Boo!
I did that deliberately. Dr Squeee. Sorry.
Sorry.
I was about to call you Mr. Squee, but I figured Doctor is the official.
You can go to Doctor School.
Squee
for 7
is fine.
years.
Squee is fine.
Just Squee then. There we go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is there a professional? Are you going for professorship eventually?
Maybe. Who knows?
Well, welcome to the Mouse's Head. What would you like to drink?
Thank you very much. As you've honoured Doctor Who in that way, I wanted to honour Disney, and I always like the kind of old-fashioned medieval look they go for in their towns. So I was thinking of a nice glass of mead, please.
Help yourself. Nice honey mead. Why not? What a good idea.
Yeah. You're a mead fan, aren't you?
I have been in my days of a medieval reenactor. Yes.
I've got to say, before we go on, I'm trying to try more different beers for me. I've been always a commercial kind of beer drinker, but IPAs I'm quite enjoying, and this is it doesn't taste like any kind of beer I've ever had. No. But it comes recommended, so if you want to sponsor us, please do. Welcome
to the world. Well, we'll get on with the Doctor Who stuff in a minute, but we always start, as we mean to go on, with a bit of news. And now I realise that we're kind of recording this in advance of several of us going on different holidays, and maybe we'll be a bit out of kilter and a bit out of sorts. So for anyone who's listening to this when the time we release it, here is the news from a few weeks ago.
A view of the news with Disafterdark.
Yeah, there we go, that one again. Right, well, who wants to start with the news?
So, if this is going to be news that we're kind of doing now for the future,
Yeah?
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll see where you're going with that one.
I think it'd be crazy for us not to talk about the fact that only this week that Disney have bought Universal Studios and are now turning Universal Studios into a new Disney park.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me.
Yeah. or should we just do news that we actually know has happened?
J.K. Rowling's livid because Disney's finally got Harry Potter through buying the whole Universal Studios corporation.
That'll teach you we're trying to cast a shadow over MGM back in the day.
That's right. The only problem is we've got Transformers as well.
Well, it could be worse, I suppose. But no, okay. So on a Universal theme this week in the UK, a company called Secret Cinema, have been trying to host a Back to the Future event. This was heavily hyped for a few months, and the plan for those that haven't seen this online was to recreate Hill Valley in a secret location in England. So to bring a little bit of Americana over to the UK, where they would be screening Back to the Future. There's going to be DeLoreans and Enchantment Under the Sea dances and everything like that, and was due to open this week just gone, actually. Unfortunately, with an hour to spare, they decided to announce quite quietly that it would be cancelled. And they repeated this stunt the next day as well with about 2 hours' notice. So at least it got a bit better. And it's as we record this, it's been delayed until the end of July, the beginning of August, where it should be taking place. But having seen pictures of the site, Hill Valley looks a little bit lacking at the moment. I'm not sure if it's ready to be inhabited by people. So as we record this, it hasn't opened. As this goes out, it may have opened and it may be good. But let's just assume that it hasn't and it isn't. And we'll take it from there. And to be honest, although one of my best friends was attending opening night and was extremely disappointed to find out, even worse than that, I believe, is old friend of the show, Logan. You may remember as director of the Walt Disney movie.
Yep.
And he extended his break to incorporate going to opening night. And of course had to leave England without being able to experience the event. So
boo to you.
That's going to be quite devastating. Yes, boo to you indeed. So I mean, it's not Universal's fault. They've not got no involvement in this other than making the film in the first place. But Secret Cinemas, you make me mad.
Do you know what the problem was, though? It's because it was the first film. They only had a DeLorean, so they couldn't fit everyone in it to go to the future when it's all set up. If it was a third film, they could have all gotten on board the train and gone into the future to see the film.
Well, I heard they actually happened. They went into the future because it was rubbish. They went back into the past again and cancelled it an hour before it was supposed to originally start.
There you go.
That would have been preferred, I think, to be fair.
Dear, oh dear. Well, I was going to start with the news that, I alluded to the fact that we are an award-winning podcast now.
Much better news.
Yes.
Congratulations.
You. The Disney Podcast Awards, or the Dizzies 2014, which is nice. We got Best Adult-Oriented Disney Show for us. So, thanks to everyone who voted for us and everyone who nominated us and put us forward to it. But you buggers, now I've got to change the bumpers to gloat about it for a bit.
And I just want to give a few shout outs because lots of people congratulated. So a few that have contributed to the show before, but where to begin? Michelle Young, who of course is a co-host of the Disney Dream Girls, who also won an award at the same ceremonies for Best International Show.
Yeah. Highly
contested with ourselves and Dibcast as well. Yeah. So congratulations, girls, and thank you for your comments on Facebook. Sony, Alex Harvey, Lewis Lonsdale, Steve Milson Payne, Martin Walker, Matt Bateman, Daniel Howe, Jonathan Lewis Jones, Peter Pontecovo, and Sarah Sarah, sorry, and Kate and other people. So thank you very much for your likes and comments and for listening and nominating us. Thank you very much.
If you ever make your way to the Mouse's Head, my credit card's behind the bar for you all.
The one that says Zay Goodgie, yeah?
That the one?
I was just thinking, hopefully they'll never realise that it isn't a real pub.
Oh, that's good. Breaking the walls down, I feel.
Yeah. Is that the Hollywood technique, the fourth wall? Or is it the third wall? I can't remember.
Fourth.
Fourth, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I was going to do some traffic news.
Traffic news?
Because that's the most pointless thing for a podcast from 2 weeks to ever do, isn't it?
I'll do a weather report as well. It's hot.
Apparently there was a car accident underneath the entrance to Walt Disney World.
Really?
Today. Yeah, some muppet.
Kermit?
Possibly. Stopped to take or slowed down to take a photograph of as they were going under the sun, despite all the signs saying, "Don't stop for photography, no slowing down." They decided to slow down and got ploughed into the back of by a truck.
Did he go to Disney jail?
So it took a little while and to clear it up, and people said, so yeah, when there are signs saying no photography, I'm not really necessarily a one for stickler for the rules, but there is a reason usually. So, oh dear.
Right. Not my finest hour. One other quick, not Disney news again. It's been a bit quiet. Well, actually, no. So lie. There is a bit Disney news here as well. So, when we record this, San Diego Comic-Con has just happened.
Yeah.
And there was two quite interesting announcements that came out of the event. The first one is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which obviously we've all loved by the time this has come out and watched.
Yep.
They've announced a sequel for 3 years' time, July 2017. We haven't seen it because it hasn't come out in the UK. It has had amazing reviews so far across the board, sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, or tomatoes, depending on where you are in the world, which is pretty impressive for a superhero film. For me, slightly jumping the gun a little bit. Just although the early buzz is good and it is a Marvel film, it should do well. Maybe you should wait until the film comes out.
Has it come out in the US yet?
Nope.
No, it hasn't come out at all.
Nope. Early previews. July 31st in the UK. I believe it's the week after in America. Because we get films first for some reason when they're Marvel. But don't get me wrong. No reason to suspect it won't do well or it won't be a good film. But I'm still waiting for Tron 3.
Yeah, so that's July 2017.
July 2017.
The sequel to a movie that hasn't been released yet is released.
It could be worse. It could have been released in 2.
I was wondering whether or not that's going to be before or after Avatar 2.
Or before and after this podcast gets released, because we still haven't decided when it's coming out.
But I've got to be behind Guardians of the Galaxy because it's got Karen Gillan from Doctor Who in it, of course.
And she looks great in it. You wouldn't recognise. Well, you can just about recognise her, but slightly different look to those the looks you would have known her from Doctor Who. Certainly,
the policewoman's uniform mainly.
Well, I was thinking more the hair, but yes,
okay.
And the skin colour, but never mind. But on that as well, so on sequel news, and this hasn't come from Universal because it's not really them that's doing it, but it is kind of a sequel to a Universal property of sorts.
Yeah.
And that is they've announced a prequel actually of King Kong, which is called Skull Island.
Okay.
Now this is made by Legendary, which is the film company that just released Godzilla.
Yeah.
Where Godzilla 2 was also announced at Comic-Con this weekend. Although that was a little bit more obvious to know.
Yeah.
But Skull Island, as the name suggests, will be about the island that they find King Kong on in the films that we've seen thus far. But will be more like a kind of before they find him. So I don't know, maybe an origin story of how King Kong came to be.
All right, yeah. King Kong descendants.
Yes.
Born of the planet of the King Kong.
Yeah, well that's it. I mean, apes are in at the moment. I mean, I haven't seen the new Planet of the Apes film, but I've heard that that's amazing as well.
Yep, I've seen it. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah,
I like
it's really good.
I like the last one as well, but
Mhm.
yeah, me and Mrs. Branch haven't gone to that yet, but we will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as a King Kong fan, really looking forward to it, and also because of the King Kong attraction, which is being built at Universal, that's not being built at Universal because they haven't announced it, even though we know it's being built there. That should add a bit of fuel to that fire as well. So that's good news all around.
Yeah.
There you go.
How about the travel news that we didn't cover? Making sure if you're flying to the States, you've got to make sure everything's charged up.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of discussion when this was first out on various boards and topics about, but it's got to be completely charged up. No, batteries don't take up less space if they're not charged, as long as you can turn it on. Okay, it just has to go on, and don't worry about all this furore about. Well, what about posting it home? If you're flying out of Gatwick, they've got charging points, so you can just charge it up to prove that it has enough charge just to turn on. But if you've got a phone and it only travels with you for emergencies, it's often a good idea with an emergency phone to have it charged.
Although,
Jess?
I mean, the only flaw I can see in this plan of theirs is that all this means is that they can't blow up the plane, but they can blow up the airport.
Yeah.
Is that better?
I'm going to wait until we release this podcast after I've been on holiday. Knowing what happens at like Bradford or Nottingham East Midlands Airport when someone announces things like that.
Yeah, I don't want to appear on the like the NSA's web, hit list or something like that. Just
Now you know why I don't
on.
use my real name.
Yeah.
Oh, you're that podcast that was talking. No. Okay, snap. Says Rubber Gloves.
So you think you're funny, do you? You and your award-winning podcast, right? Come into this little room. Let me snap on my rubber gloves.
Well, I know. It may look funny that both my co-hosts are going to Disney World this year, and I'm not. But I think I'm also the only member of the team that every time I fly into an American airport, I do get taken away by the police for an hour minimum to be investigated before being let on my merry way. So
that means, Paul, you and I are now known associates of.
Yeah. ...
Yeah.
Don't this gang.
We're in so much trouble now. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, has anyone got any more news?
A little bit. The Anna and Elsa meet and greet saga goes on.
Yeah.
So what they've decided to do now to cut down the wait times for people is you get issued with a little piece of paper that gives you a time or a window to come back in. You could kind of call that like a fast pass, like a legacy fast pass, maybe.
Yeah.
Just an idea. So I mean, Disney, do with that whatever you like.
So the My Fast Pass Plus, for Anna and Elsa, is now kind of circumvented by a traditional bit of paper with a time slot on it.
It's now my piece of paper.
That is an awesome piece of planning. Well done.
It is. I mean, it's completely Wi-Fi. Once you get that piece of paper, you can use it anywhere in the park,
And it doesn't need to be charged up.
Doesn't, no.
No. And like good old-fashioned paper and pen, you will not get charged stupid roaming costs.
This is true.
Yeah.
Although you've got to be able to turn on the pen to prove that it works.
Yeah. Which would be just my luck that the ink would have dried.
Now, I got a little piece of trivia,
Yeah.
So on the last podcast, whenever it is, because there's a lot of time travel being discussed tonight, so I'm not quite sure when that last one was, or when it will be. But I did mention that I renewed my subscription to touringplans.com.
Yep.
And I checked the crowd calendar this week, and the first 2 weeks in September, which is the time that I'm going, is absolutely the lowest crowd of a whole year, anything.
Excellent.
And apart from one day, which is a 3, so the scale is 1 to 10, 10 being the busiest.
Yep.
It's 1s and 2s, apart from one day, which is a 3.
All right. And
I expect to spend 2 weeks with Anna and Elsa if I want to.
And I still have to get up at 5 a.m. to check my Disney Experience app to book fast passes. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, Squeee, Mr. Dr. Professor Squeee, sir.
Yes.
We've heard you talking, and we've alluded to some Doctor Who fans, but just for our Disney-fied listeners, would you care to actually formally introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, my name's... Yeah, my name's Dr. Well, I'm known as Dr. Squeee on my podcast, which sounds very pretentious, but it's just because I work as a counsellor in my sort of day job. So, can't put my name on the podcast, really. My co-host...
Counsellor with an S or a C? The two
as in the counsellor of the mind, if you will.
I was going to say, not you don't work for, Hampshire County Council or something.
No, then I just say. I wouldn't be that precious about it then.
Fair enough.
So I do a podcast called Gallifrey Stands, and it's a weekly podcast about Doctor Who. It started off with me just doing it on a whim and just talking into the microphone. I always say talking into the void, basically, just me there with the microphone. And I, for a joke, made my dog my co-host. So she's known on the podcast as Dotty Who. And we record podcast weekly. It's become a bit of a interview show now. So I've had loads of people on. I've actually managed to get a published author on, and another guy from the States called Andy McAlfresh, who does the Education podcast. And he's also was a writer for Jay Leno, so he was a really good guest. Had a few people from Doctor Who fan fiction on, so there was a couple of guys who did this audio production called Dark Journey. They're really great to have on. And, this week I'm going to be doing a small section with the fine folk from Disafterdark.
We like to hear that.
Not so much. The other stuff sounded amazing, but
bearing in mind we're recording it when we've finished here.
And, the funniest thing is, that's probably the most professionally I've talked about the podcast, including on the podcast. That sounded like I really knew what I'm doing.
You've come on this podcast. Anyone sounds like they know what they're doing when they're put alongside us.
By the way, I could be mistaken because we drink quite a lot and things get confused. But the name of your podcast, isn't that the same name as a Nana Cherry song?
Gallifrey Stands.
Dear.
Oh no!
Buffalo Stance. Oh,
Buffalo
it took me a second there.
Yeah.
Jeez. God, yeah, I had to put on my 80s brain. Talk about time travel.
It's all right. To be fair, the jokes don't get much better.
I haven't thought of Nana Cherry for so long.
No, I'm thinking what. I had no idea what particular rabbit hole you were going down. There.
Yeah, just random, isn't it? I suppose.
You could have gone really up to date with Eagle Eye Cherry at least. At least that's 90s,
That is very true.
So, I don't ask. How long have you been a Doctor Who fan?
Oh, since birth, pretty much. I mean, when I was growing up, it was always on in my household, and way back then, it makes me feel really old to say this, but VHS was around, but there weren't that many tapes about. There was still Betamax knocking about a bit, so they just started releasing a few of the Doctor Who on video. So we had the 5 Doctors, which was one of the specials they did, and a few others. And I used to just love putting those on all the time. And my brother was really into Doctor Who. So I'm 35, so 35 years.
Wow.
That's.
So because my Doctor was McCoy. That was the earliest Doctor that I could remember.
Yeah.
So yours Davison or?
Yeah, Davison's the earliest one I remember. I think when I was born, it was still Tom Baker. Well, I know it is. Let me just pretend like I don't know exactly which Doctor Who was when. I'm not that much of a geek, honest. But yeah. So it was Tom Baker when I was born. But yeah, the first one I can remember at all was Peter Davison. So he was my favourite up until the new series. And now I'm a Matt Smith guy.
Okay.
I was always a Roger Moore fan. Have I got the wrong?
Yeah, no, he was. He was a great Doctor. I was going to make another James Bond joke, but that's Doctor No, so it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
He's possibly the only actor who could get more knob gags out of the sonic screwdriver than have already been done.
Yeah. Knob as in knob of butter, nothing rude. We're not like that on this podcast.
Oh, yeah, of course, sorry.
Anymore, apparently.
Well, I don't know. We did win an award for Best Adult Podcast, so...
Perhaps we can still get away with it.
Yeah.
So am I not allowed to mention the anti-Jew regalia on the Mouse's Head walls, then?
Now I am gonna have to edit you.
Sorry, I can resist.
I don't know. I think there was
Disney.
nothing wrong with that.
There is none. Oh,
Look up the
Christ.
Disney history. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, it's very true.
Allegedly.
Sorry, I'm so
His head's spinning in its icebox right now.
Other types of regalia on the walls are available.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was I remember being a Doctor Who fan that was a typical child that was scared of the Daleks, completely petrified of the Daleks, even knowing they couldn't get upstairs at the time. But Sylvester McCoy was definitely my Doctor of choice. He was one I was most familiar with. But I mean, there were some dark times for being a Doctor Who fan. I mean, I suppose it's a little bit, in a way, similar to the Doctor Who resistance that occurred after it disappeared from the public screens in the 80s. In fact, just about the same time that Disney came out of its own dark period.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, how did you manage to maintain your interest in Doctor Who when there were not many outlets at the time showing Doctor Who?
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing is the Doctor Who culture was just so strong in this country. It just lived on through that. I mean, there were still conventions going on. There was a range of books at the time, which were done by Virgin Books, because BBC didn't even want to bother publishing the books. So they did the New Adventure books. And yeah, there were audio plays that people did. They started, there's a group called Big Finish who do audio productions to this day. And they started during the kind of off time for Doctor Who. And we had the TV movie somewhere in 96.
Yeah.
So there was kind of just so much interest in it. And that's why it really surprised me that it didn't come back sooner. When they did the TV movie, for instance, there was nearly 10 million viewers in the UK.
Is it Paul McGann?
Yeah, Paul McGann.
Paul McGann, yeah. And Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah, and Sylvester McCoy at the beginning of it. But it's like, I mean, in America it didn't get the viewing figures, but over here it really did. So I would have thought someone would have taken up the reins then, but I think the BBC just didn't want to risk spending any money. So it's only when Russell T Davies sort of got the bit between his teeth to do it that he kind of managed to stir up the excitement. But yeah, there was just so much stuff going on within the Doctor Who world and so many people are into it. And I went to a few conventions during that time as well, and it was just still all out there. So I think it was really the fans who kept it alive.
Yeah.
Do you know, outside of the UK, how big Doctor Who actually is?
Well, I've recently discovered this doing the interviews, because I knew that now it's big in America, but it sounds like back in the day it was on PBS during the Tom Baker era that they started getting it at all. And so it kind of had a very cult following, but it was kind of a steady following. So I think the new series is where it's really exploded over there, but apparently it was always kind of in the background there. I mean, you see references on The Simpsons and things like that from the original series. So I think it was kind of known, but not the kind of phenomenon it is now over there.
Excellent. Because obviously, being a Disney podcast, there's a reason that we made contact with you, and it got asked on our Facebook question of the week, was to combat Universal kicking their arses with Harry Potter, if Disney bought the rights and the theme park rights to Doctor Who. Let's think, where would they put him, and what rides and experiences do they create?
Yeah, I came up with a few ideas on this one.
Now, I mean, I suppose the question we should ask first of all anyway is, have you been to any of the parks?
I went to Euro Disney before, went on a college trip. Mm-hmm. But that's all. But yeah, that was really cool.
You're aware of like the, because I mean, to be honest, although they are all different parks,
yeah,
you get the same kind of vibe. So if you've been to one, you kind of know what it's like. So yeah, okay. So we'll go with you first. What would you, what kind of attractions would you like to see?
Well, there was 3 rides which I thought of. So I don't know about location, I'm afraid. Apart from front and centre is obviously my answer. But but apart from that, yeah, there's 3 rides which sprang to mind. One which was, I think, a slam dunk, where you've got the Small World After All. Yep. That could be very easily adapted to have adipose in it. Now, are you guys familiar with what the adipose are?
Fire away.
Well, these were like one of the new Doctor Who's. They had these little marshmallow-looking figures who would walk along. They look insanely cute, and you'd see them just walking around. And it turns out what was happening was people were taking weight loss tablets, and these fat globs were coming off their body and walking around, being made sentient by the tablets they were taking, to the point where they kill the person. but they were just these little kind of, as I say, marshmallow-looking fellows, and I thought they would be the perfect replacement for the small world characters.
They are.
Just
They
have
are
Ada
extremely
pushing them
cute.
over the world.
Yeah, they are extremely cute.
Yeah.
Blimey.
So that one seemed to fit in very nicely. But the kind of big one which I thought we could have is I don't know if you guys have been to Las Vegas to the Star Trek experience.
No.
I mean, I think it's gone now, but I didn't get to go, but I have seen and read quite a lot about it.
Yeah, I think they had a special event, but I think it's in residency there. There is a kind of area where it's just, there's a couple of rides. Well, it was certainly when I went over there, was permanently there.
Yeah.
And kind of it is an interactive kind of walkthrough kind of thing. And I actually went up to London. There was a Doctor Who experience up there. And they had a kind of similar walkthrough thing, but it was it was mainly sets, and you had one room where you had this kind of 4D video effect. But I thought that we could have the sort of like walkthrough of the Doctor Who world. So like you could enter into the TARDIS, have a bit in the console room, maybe an interactive ride, having a bit more seating so it kind of judders around and everything, like one of those wobble stages.
Yep.
And then you have a run through the TARDIS of like just insane bad guys just chasing you all through. So you've got Daleks popping out of the wall, weeping angels. I like the kind of like thing like they do with Harry Potter now, that where they've got it kind of very interactive. And I think that's what, like, you know, you can have your big roller coasters, but it's really nice to have something which really scares people and really gets them kind of being active and running through it. So I thought something like that would be a good idea.
Okay. Yeah.
And my
And
other one,
sorry. So just with that, so when you talk about interactive as well, so what was you thinking? Like, you know, having like sonic screwdrivers that you could do stuff with.
yeah, and like little levers that you have to pull for the Doctor, and he can appear on video screens, very much like they did in the London one.
Kind
So-
of like interactive ones.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, someone could get picked to, like, you know, hopefully a little kid, so they get the best of it, gets picked to be the Doctor's assistant to help guide you through.
Yeah, the currently obviously in Orlando in Universal, you've got the interactive ones, as Paul's just said. So an interactive sonic screwdriver that you could point at things and it would do stuff. That would be excellent.
I'm very, very doable as well.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Hall of Presidents, but it's all the different Doctor Who's from
The
all the different eras, the Hall of Doctors.
The Hall of Who, yes.
Yeah, the Hall of Who. Yeah,
We
excellent.
could have, like...
Yeah, actually, when you get to the Hall of Presidents, I'm sorry, but I'm English. Most of them I look at, and it is the Hall of Who anyway.
Well, you could have, like they do on down in the Batcave, when you see all the Bat uniforms up on the wall. You could have all the Doctor Who outfits in the costume room.
You know full well that it will probably come up with the most pointless replacement for Armageddon.
To be honest, when you actually said that last idea, I did think it sounds like a much better version of what they have already in the studios for Armageddon.
Yeah, a little bit of a stunt show video, and then a walkthrough into a TARDIS control room. Yeah.
Oh, you have to have a big and exciting and really like grab you kind of thing, I think.
Well, the attraction they have at Disneyland Paris in the studios for this Armageddon is basically you walk onto a set of a space station, and things start going wrong. So there's like you gets hit by a bit of meteor, and there's a massive fire that starts out, and the whole thing starts shaking around. So there are elements of what you've got there already.
You
that
make
is extending
it sound so exciting. I'm going to have to go on it next time.
You don't.
Well, I think what you'd have to have is the... I was talking about the Star Trek one, and when they had that, while they were showing you... I mean, the thing I love about Doctor Who is it does try and genuinely, like, scare kids, but in a kind of safe way. So the Doctor's always going to save you, but you should be a little bit scared. And in this Star Trek one, they had, like, they were showing you the instructional video, like the safety video, but it wasn't really the safety video because halfway through it cuts out. The lights go off, wind gushes up at you like you're falling, and it just kind of like really scares the shit out of you for a second. Sorry, my lad swear.
Yeah, it's cool.
Scares the shit out of you for a second, and then you're running through these corridors and stuff. So I think it's really got to grab you and got to be really quick and fast paced.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if you take Armageddon and give it a bit of a Universal Halloween Horror Night kind of vibe, that's the kind of thing you're after. I mean, you've obviously not done that. That's a very, very intense set of houses that are themed to different things, and exactly that people chase after you or come out of dark corners of the building, and that's a very intense experience. So, what was your third idea?
Yeah, the only other one I thought was Escape from Dalek Mountain. I really have just nicked Disney ideas now. And you just have you're going through on a kind of roller coaster, but you've got Daleks kind of. I don't know if you've seen in the newer Doctor Who, they've got Daleks on these little pods flying through space. Mm-hmm. And you could have just Daleks swinging past you as you're going through on the roller coaster. So it feels almost as if they're going to hit you, and you just swing past them.
Okay.
So it's basically just a big roller coaster with Daleks everywhere.
So using that suggestion there of Dr. Squeeze of just taking Disney ideas. So I was thinking of the Little Dalek, and also the Cybermen King.
Nice.
As things we could do Disney. No,
so you could have a Cyberman holding up a Cybermat, much like the Lion King.
Pretty much.
Nice.
A little baby cyber baby, rather than a Cyberman. But I mean, I think it's interesting that the fact Doctor Who is obviously as popular as it is, and yet no one has tried to kind of do more with it in that respect. I mean, even in the UK, I mean, we have quite a few theme parks here, and not really much has been done that I've ever seen. Somebody did say actually on our Facebook page, Matt Bateman said there used to be an attraction at Longleat.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean that was the first I'd ever heard. I think I remember an exhibition once at Mommy, which was the Museum of the Moving Image. I think that's where it was. Which was like a Doctor Who experience, but that was in the 80s.
Well, I was going to say the thing with Longleat is the same as the one in London. Is most of what it was though was more like a Doctor Who museum.
Yeah.
So you go around all the costumes and all these things, all the genuine sets. So there's some really cool stuff, but nothing like a kind of theme park kind of thing. So I think you're right. I think that they are missing a trick there. I mean, the one of the best things I saw was they had a kind of Doctor Who reenactment. They had one of the guys who was a regular repeat character from Doctor Who called the Brigadier, and he had him fighting a load of Cybermen, and they actually had Cybermen exploding. So it was some really cool stuff like that. But yeah, I've never seen a theme park kind of idea around it.
The Doctor Who Epic Stunt Spectacular.
It was really great, actually. I mean, I was so close you could actually feel the heat from the Cybermen blowing up. It was great.
Excellent. Some of the ideas that our listeners have come up with, Steve Milson-Payne, replaced Dumbo with K9s and Daleks. Now, Dumbo is just a standard spinny round, go up and down type ride for children. But if you could do that on the back of a K9 rather than sitting inside a Dumbo, would be great.
Nice.
I don't think the Dalek idea would work with that, to be honest.
I don't know where you'd sit. Inside it, like Davros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that his name? Because I'm not the world's greatest Doctor Who.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
Because I'm pretty sure I was about to call him Stavros. But
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got to have a system. One is a Greek kebab fan owner played by Harry Enfield, and the other one is not.
Yeah.
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 So got to have a system.
Would Davros,
They look very similar.
Would Davros get a guest assistance pass?
I think he would do, because he is.
He needs an assisted motor vehicle.
He does, yeah. Alex Harvey suggested replacing the Sounds Dangerous building at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Alex, I agree with you. I don't care what they replace it with. Just replace it.
Just knock it down. Although they've said, oh yes, sorry. Hang on, just reading.
It's next to the Star Wars area, so.
Yeah, so like a little sci-fi bit. I will have it as a sort of haunted house with angels and Daleks. Yeah. So kind of actually going back with your idea, actually. Yeah. Someone agreeing with that.
A Doctor Who haunted mansion.
Yeah. Nice. And of course, as well, we've got the British area in Epcot.
Yeah.
The pavilion.
Just a TARDIS photo spot and a Doctor meet and greet.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They don't even have to have anyone who looks like it. It could just be an incarnation.
Yeah. Yeah. Jordan Duncan suggested making use of the British Pavilion, and it makes sense to me. And Sarah said a TARDIS ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've got to add fish fingers and custard cupcake for dessert, perhaps.
Nice.
Don't know. I know where that's come from. personally still not convinced. And this is the person who still proclaims that the Pizza Planet burger they used to serve at Disneyland Paris is one of the greatest things he's ever eaten.
Well, we'll tell you, I've tried the fish fingers and custard. I've done that twice with my son. He absolutely loved it. I really liked it at the time. It's only about half an hour later you really regret that decision.
Oh, well, I'm good at doing things and regretting them later on. So.
Yeah, really tasty at the time. I still say it's worth it somehow. Mainly because I forget the pain in my stomach like by the next day.
It would fit really well in Epcot though, because the UK needs something more than just a tea shop.
Yeah.
Even Norway has Maelstrom.
Well, currently.
Yeah.
Soon, potentially to be replaced by Frozen.
Yeah, although that might not please them, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, we should talk about it in the news.
What's that?
Oh, missed opportunity.
Yeah. Well, there's always the next show in a couple of weeks' time. It can be late news then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why have it on time when you can have it late?
Yeah.
I think an attraction. You know what? I could see something like the Wizarding World, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. That ride system used with Doctor Who could be quite interesting. So that to explain that for Dr Squeee is you sit in a row. A little bit like a bench kind of thing, but you're sitting in individual chairs, and you're going around seeing massive projected IMAX screens, and then you're seeing actual props and sets.
Okay.
And you're being moved up and down. You're being rotated as well. It's all quite fast.
It's a
Give you the
bench,
feeling you're flying.
a bench on an arm.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way of describing it. So you could have like a slight journey through space, through time and space.
You could go through the vortex.
Yeah. I could see that working quite well, and like you're kind of escaping from the master or something. I can see that working. So that's the thing. Like people just think, I don't know anything other than Disney, but I know a little bit about Doctor Who. Even if my wife,
I'm the same way. I was actually trying to pull deep on my Disney knowledge for this podcast, but it's kind of, you suddenly realise how these icons really permeate the pop culture, so you know more than you think.
Yeah.
I've got another question. Read the theming afterwards, but in the meantime, we have a gentleman who comes on occasionally on our podcast and sings for us. And the pub singer has sent us a very special pub singer style instrumental. Actually, I think you might like this. In the words of Paul Daniels, not a lot, but I think you might like it. That's an a cappella version of the Doctor Who theme song. Apparently.
Well,
is that Vic Reeves doing his club style?
No, that's our pub singer.
Yeah, that is our pub singer.
Although we don't actually know his identity, so for all we know, it could actually be Vic Reeves. But at least I know where my new ringtone's coming from, so that's good.
To any other Doctor Who and Disney and Disafterdark fans, that will be available as a ringtone.
Or not if you don't want it. It's entirely up to you.
Only $2.99 for a download.
If you want any of the pub singer's previous best greatest hits album to be made available for download, I am more than happy to do that.
Greatest
Just
hits.
email me, and I'll.
To be fair, actually, Dr. Squeee, he is actually more popular than we are. So we actually think that's why we won the award. Actually, just because we had him on the show. So I think the other thing was.
I should watch out coming onto your show and dissing a Disney sing-along,
I wouldn't mind. But,
Nah.
I mean, another thing that I think is quite interesting is the fact that, last year was the anniversary, and they had the special episode of Doctor Who shown at the cinema. But, hang on a second. That's our
other co-host.
The Disafterdark
excellent.
dog co-host Flynn, who's wants to leave the recording part of the pub to go to another one. That's his choice.
How long a podcast can we get out of two dogs co-hosting together, just barking at each other?
That's fine. I don't mind if you've got a dog co-host, but if any other bloody Doctor Who podcast tries to go on the dog co-hosting, that's my niche market there.
Oh, but to be honest, that's how we feel in the Disney community as well. If any other Disney podcast tries to get a dog,
exactly,
unless it's Pluto or
we are
Goofy,
respectively the premier Doctor Who and Disney dog co-hosted podcasts.
Well, there you go. That's gospel. You just heard it here first.
Yeah.
But no, what I was going to say was, I think what's quite interesting is the fact that they're now showing Doctor Who in America at the same time as the UK, but also the fact that the first episode of this new series starting in August, 23rd to be exact, is being shown once again at cinemas or in America theatres.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. I went to see the 50th anniversary, and especially where it had the 3D as well. It was just such a spectacular, and it was really impressive that the BBC stepped up to the plate with the special effects as well. I mean, I really thought some of the effects were better than some of the CGI junk you get on some of the movies now.
Yeah.
Like Maleficent, yeah. I'm really bitter about that film, aren't I? But... yeah, no, I mean, I was really gutted. I couldn't go. I wanted to see it, but I've just seen that they released it in 3D on Blu-ray, so I might pick it up at some point actually.
Yeah, they're about to release a special edition one.
Oh, well, I won't then.
It's out in September. It's like a 4-disc special set, so it might be a bit just for the geeks, or the Doctor Who geeks.
Yeah, well, we'll see which one.
There's those in every population.
Yeah, and they normally tend to run podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in good company.
Yeah. My question was going to be, when it comes down to, if we're putting a Disney with Doctor Who versus Universal with the Harry Potter, obviously Universal have got a massive building in Hogwarts and the surrounding varying villages and areas that they can build a theme around. Which one of the previous Doctors would you take any kind of theme around to build an area?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, you had the third Doctor was stuck on Earth for quite a while, and he had. Do you know what unit is in Doctor Who?
Yes.
Yeah, it's United Nations Intelligence Task Force, and it was basically this group of soldiers. So he did have a lab and a kind of like setting you could fit on. But I think most of it you could just do any Doctor, just have it on an alien planet. So like have it set on Skaro, or like you could have a Skaro area and then a planet of the Weeping Angels maybe, and like different. If you go down a different street, you go into a different planet maybe.
Because I was going to, go back a few Doctors when budgets were a bit tighter. And I was saying you just have it in a massive quarry somewhere.
As soon as you said that.
Yeah, usually sandstone.
Yeah.
And they can also, they can multi-purpose that for when they're bored of using it as a Doctor Who area. They can use it as a final scene in a Sweeney or a Professionals.
They've even had nods to it in the new Doctor Who. They've had a few quarry episodes, which I thought were awesome.
You've just got to have one. It's like, well,
yeah.
How are we building this area? Well, we can build this building and we can put this show ride attraction here. Or we could just dig a big hole.
What about making a reenactment of Cardiff?
Yeah, I think that would be a no-brainer for the main area. Yeah, I mean the TARDIS is meant to be basically infinitely large, so you could have so many rooms of that.
The only problem is though, if you did it as Cardiff, is to make it really authentic. It doesn't really work in Orlando because it's not peeing down rain every 5 minutes.
Oh, thank God.
No, because the thing is,
I don't know how many Welsh listeners we've got. Speak up now if you're not, but I thought we were about to go down that route.
Nah, I'm sure you're not. I'm sure there aren't that many. But no, I mean, the thing is, I actually really like Cardiff. I've been there a few times, and in fact, I've been to the BBC in Cardiff. But literally every time I've been, it has rained. From almost the moment I've got off the train, it has rained the entire time I've been there. No matter what time of year, it's a lovely place, but my God, is it wet.
Yeah.
So which one of the Doctor Who's female assistants are you going to make as the next princess?
Bonnie Langford.
I think it's Amy Pond because she was actually a model before she was a Doctor Who assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen Gillan had a modelling career, so I think she just fit the mould very quickly.
I was going to go down the route of the one that used to wear the leather and the loincloth.
Actually, now you say that was one of my favourites too.
Yeah, I don't know why. I must have been about 12 at the time, but
That's probably why you were just hitting puberty. You were the perfect target.
On the cusp. Dad, can I watch Doctor Who? Of course you can, son.
On the cusp, is that a euphemism for the effect she had on you?
I think it may be, and there's the name for this week's show.
By the way, for anyone wondering, Paul has had to step into his own TARDIS.
Yeah.
So we haven't killed him. He's still alive.
He's gone out for a smoke out the back of the mouse's head, hasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it was just to make anyone know that he's like, don't worry, he's still.
Oh dear. Yeah. So anyway, we are ramping up towards the end of the show now. Normally we throw a Disney challenge quiz at you, but considering that some of the podcast hosts here have only managed to get 4 questions correct, I really don't think it's fair, do you?
No, I'm up for it. I heard this last week, so I'm like prepared.
Oh, okay.
Not that I'll know any of the answers, but I'm prepared to not know any of the answers.
To be honest, if you're prepared, that's more than we are normally.
Nick.
And the other thing is, if you don't do this, then it won't make any sense when I've got my revenge Doctor Who quiz, which I was going to post to you on my podcast.
Oh, okay then.
Oh, well,
right,
Nick.
Talk for a minute.
So you're kind of setting up my bit unless you don't.
Oh, okay. Nick, talk for a bit while I get my timer set up.
Oh God, what am I going to talk about?
I don't know, Doctor Who. Try that.
Oh, I've got a couple of Disney questions if you've got a sec.
Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask actually. I don't know if you've covered this in the show ever, but I remember seeing a while ago Brave. I particularly liked, and I thought that actually might have been a bit of a forerunner for the kind of style of humour in Frozen, in many ways.
Yeah. So what was that? Sorry.
Brave.
Yeah.
I think the kind of the style of humour there was kind of the start of what they did with Frozen. But my question was, it's the when they had the Disney princess of Brave.
Yeah.
In I can't remember the girl in its name.
Merida.
Yeah. And they changed it to be like thinner and make her like look more kind of stereotypically pretty. Did you hear anything about this? Are you familiar with this?
I've not. Brave's a funny one for me because, to be honest, I mean, Brave was the first Pixar princess film, and to me, it came out the same year as Wreck-It Ralph. And if you hadn't have stuck Pixar Disney to those at the front of the films and asked me to do so, Wreck-It Ralph felt like a Pixar film to me, and Brave felt like a Disney film. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it just didn't tonally just felt a bit weird. It's in all honesty the first time I've heard that being said about Merida. I thought you was going to go down the Amy Pond route then, because I could kind of see where you might be coming from. But I've not heard it. No.
I saw a few news things on it because they were saying that the big thing that Disney had said is like, look, she's so different from all the other Disney princesses. She's a big independent woman. And then when they put her into the park as one of the Disney princesses, they changed the model to look more like a traditional, pretty. I don't want to use the word bimbo, but do you know what I mean? Like stereotypical.
Okay, yeah. To be honest, I think it's more. And I mean, I don't know how this works, but I think when you look at characters like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and princesses like that, they've got very basic features. So if you've got someone who's relatively pretty, but you've got the right wig, they'll look enough like that character to pass off. I think with Merida, what they've done there is, unfortunately, the character is quite unique, a lot more unique looking. In fact, I think a lot of the newer princesses are anyway, just because of how animation's done now. And so I think it's more a problem with what they've done stylistically, that with the animation. I think it's harder to get that. So I don't think it's necessarily so much what they've done to change it. I think it's going to be very hard to replicate.
I think it was. I mean, I don't think it was like in such as in models playing her, but it was like they had the foam costumes with the kind of head of her, if you will, and they had some of the merchandising. Apparently, they changed. I mean, I saw the pictures at the time. I think it was on the.
Oh right, sorry. Yeah, no, I get what you mean now. Yeah.
And they changed it to just be a bit more kind of stereotypical Disney princess as opposed to the kind of more characterful Disney model they'd gone with her. So they kind of it just felt like they backtracked on what they'd said they were doing.
To be honest, the weird thing with that actually was at the same time they did that with a few of the other ones as well. So they had done, going back to what I was saying, they did actually do that with Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. They almost styled them to be more like the newer princesses. And I kind of get why they've done that in a way, because I suppose it's synergy. How can you have a range of Disney princesses where you have them all under the same banner, yet the ones Little Mermaid all look completely different to the ones post Little Mermaid? So anything after like 90 upwards. So they kind of like changed the shape of the faces and made the eyes a bit bigger and stuff like that. I think I understand why you do it for branding, but I don't agree with it, because at the same time, if they're based on things that already exist and you're not going to go back and change those, why? So, and
also it's like it's like with the costumes of Doctor Who over the years, like they've always been a reflection of the style of the time. And so, like, they will look drastically different, especially from the old Doctor Who to the new Doctor Who. I think it's the same is true of Disney. The style of animation is a reflection of how people see women at the time and, like, what they're trying to do with that. So why change it? Just have it being reflecting that time.
That's why I don't pay us the big bucks, my friend.
Oh, dear. Anyway, you got 2 minutes. Are you ready now? There is no delaying it.
I won't get any right, but I'm prepared.
That's all right, then. Here we go. In The Sword in the Stone, what animal stalks Wart throughout the film?
Rabbit.
Okay. What actress and singer gave her voice to Georgette the Poodle in Oliver and Company?
Nadel Dazim.
Good answer. I like that one. All right, I'll go for a historical one. Who is Hercules' father?
Thor.
What do the geese think that O'Malley is doing when he's in the river in Aristocats?
Swimming.
What is the name of the pilot who works for the Albatross Air Charter Service?
Oh, Jesus. John. That's really encouraging.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. No, I won't read that one. I can't believe I'll give you answers. In The Fox and the Hound, what's the name of the fox?
Red.
Okay. What is Geppetto doing when Pinocchio finds him inside the whale?
So I want to give a rude answer. Whittling.
That could, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
In which Greek city is Hercules proclaimed a hero?
Thebes.
Okay. What task is Mickey Mouse given as a punishment in Steamboat Willie?
To swab the deck.
Which fishy creature brings King Triton's summons to Sebastian?
Crab.
6 seconds. I've started, so I'll finish. There we go. What's the name of Captain Hook's pirate sidekick?
Smee.
Here we go.
See, you didn't get one right. Yeah.
Right, here we go. Let's go through these answers. Nick.
Yep.
How confident are you?
I've got a few.
All right, then. Which animal stalks Wart throughout the film Sword in the Stone?
Yeah, that I can't remember and I should have done. Dragon?
It's a wolf. Yeah. Apparently.
No,
it's a rabbit wolf. Actually. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Rabbit wolf, yeah.
Which actress and singer gave her voice to Georgette the Poodle?
And you're telling me it's not...
it's not Adele Dazeem.
Oh, what a shame.
Which was an awesome answer. It just completely threw me off my step. Congratulations.
Isn't it Bette Midler?
It was, yeah.
Yeah?
Hey.
God, I shouldn't know that answer, should I? Bloody Oliver and Company.
Hercules' father is Zeus.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is.
What do we say for this one? What do the geese think that O'Malley is doing when he's in the river? You said swimming. I'll give you that one because they thought he was learning to swim.
Hey.
Yeah.
We'll give you that one. What else? The name of the pilot who works for Albatross Air Charter Service.
Isn't it Wilbur?
That's nearly. It's his brother. Orville.
Orville. We had that one the other week as well. Oh.
Did we? Oh, I'm repeating questions already. I've got to find a new book then, aren't I? The name of the fox.
Ring.
Todd.
Oh, Todd and Copper, isn't it? Yeah.
What's Geppetto doing when Pinocchio finds him inside the whale?
River dance.
Yeah, he's actually fishing. Go on.
Ah.
I want to know what the rude answer would have been. You can tell us that when I've stopped recording.
It's kind of like whittling.
In which Greek city is Hercules proclaimed a hero? And you said Thebes. Our audience said exactly the same.
But what was the right answer? Because
it's Thebes.
Oh, it's Thebes. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey! I just picked a Greek city that I can remember. I remembered it from Shakespeare, bizarrely enough.
You didn't go down the Athens route then, because it's Falaraki. I don't know. Okay. What task is Mickey given as a punishment in Steamboat Willie? Nick?
Spinning the wheel.
Peeling potatoes, apparently.
Oh. Well, I must have not watched it again.
Which fishy creature brings King Triton's summons to Sebastian?
Isn't it an eel?
It's a seahorse with a stupid blackadder ruff around his neck.
Yeah, in hindsight, a crab was a really bad answer. It's not that fishy, really.
Sebastian's a crab.
Yeah.
Sebastian's a crab.
Yeah. And the name of Captain Hook's pirate sidekick is indeed Mr. Smee. So you scored 3.
Well, that is a roaring success compared to where I was.
That is a frighteningly roaring success compared to other people in the past, and puts you into the top 10.
And
do I get a half a point for Adele Dazeem?
Only because that'll give you more points than me. No.
I think honourable mention.
Yeah, a little asterisk next to my name.
Yeah.
But
thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Nick, we haven't told anyone. We didn't start off correctly because I didn't have my show notes from several shows ago.
Oh, yeah, because that makes a world of difference.
How do people find us? Because they've already listened to us, so they might actually hunt us down now.
Well, they can visit our website, www.disafterdark.com. They can email us at podcast@disafterdark.com. And just before you do your bit, Paul, which is the social media side, you can do that, right?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. Just for those who played last year, we are doing another year of Fantasy Football League, Disafterdark Fantasy Football League. I think named the Stuart Miller League in honour of our winner last year.
It is.
It's open. It's free. Even our American listeners who don't know much about the sport that we play that you call soccer, you can join for free. It's fun. It's a bit of a laugh. And you could get mentioned on the show because of it. So join up, and if you want to learn where to sign up, you can visit our website or email us, or you can go to the following places.
We'll be posting about it on Twitter @Disafterdark. We've got YouTube. We've got Facebook.com/Disafterdark. And if you just put the words Disafterdark into Google, something will pop up somewhere.
Yeah, but put your safety feature on just in case.
Yeah, we've already mentioned that one, Sam.
And if you have loved what you've heard about Doctor Who tonight, where can we find our illustrious guest?
Well, I'm on Twitter @Dr Squeee. You can email Gallifrey Stands podcast @gmail.com. And I'm on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podbean. And you can like and rate us there if you like the show.
Brilliant. Gentlemen, and Paul, sorry you haven't come in from your cigarette just yet. We will see you all in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, and if I may, if you download this week's podcast, I believe you guys will be doing a little bit of a segment with me after we finish recording this. So there'll be an exclusive thing there.
Yeah, we'll find a quiet room in the mouse's head for you somewhere.
Brilliant.
to make it sound professional.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, dear listener. We will speak to you all, I say 2 weeks' time, but I've been a bit lax at the moment. And it's not pod fade, it's just me being busy. Enjoy the summer holidays. Speak to you all soon. Thank you, and bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Growing older is mandatory. Growing up is optional. Disafterdark, the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.